Well, everyone, it's a wrap. We want to thank you so much for joining us for our first season with Coastal with Kathryn. We had so much fun visiting the Lowcountry here in South Carolina. We met with historians, artists, musicians, a marine biologist who gave us great information about our coastal waters. We stopped by a distillery, the farmers market, one of the coolest musical venues here that we have in the Lowcountry, and we also have a lot of history. We had Mitchellville and Harriet Tubman and how important she played in our American history. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be featuring highlights from our first season. So if you missed any of the shows, they'll be there for you. We're going to take a couple of weeks hiatus where we're going to be focusing on season 2. And in the meantime, please stay with us on our social media. We have Instagram and Facebook, and we will continue to give us updates about where we're going. So we want to thank you again for joining us for our first season. We look forward to our second season, and I will see you again soon. And this is Coastal with Kathryn. Up first, don't you love visiting farmers markets? We stopped by the one in Bluffton, South Carolina. I invited Jesse Blanco, who is the food guy here in the Lowcountry, and we walked around. We had so much fun and we found special treats along the way. So one thing about the farmers market, everybody brings something. It's like, we know when you have a party and everybody brings something for the dinner.
Yes.
Whatever they bring is always the best thing they make.
Yes.
So when you go to a farmer's market, I think that's what people don't realize, that when we're trying all these foods, these are really good recipe and foods. It's quality.
Yes. Yes. The barbecue guy barbecues his thing. The paella people, paella is their thing, so you get everybody's best shot, and it's like a big old party here. It's why I love the Bluffton Farmers Market.
So, I love the Caribbean lemon pepper. I'm a big lemon pepper fan. Are you?
I've got that one at home, actually.
You do. This looks terrific. And they have the black garlic. Hi there, sir. How are you?
Hi. How are you, ma'am?
Good.
All veggies, very
Is this your spices?
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long
Everything
time.
in it's on the table right there.
Wow.
Very good. Thank you.
It's my creation, yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
And what I like about this, take a look here, it also has the sauces. So definitely unique, hard to find, special gems for your cupboards, your spice racks.
We're in all the restaurants, the big restaurants too.
Are you? And what is your name, sir?
Oh, Tom Wilson.
Hi, Tom Wilson. Nice to meet you. I'm Kathryn.
you.
That's Jesse.
I know.
Yeah,
Jesse.
we go way back. I got half of these.
Yeah.
I got half of these in my cabinet.
Yeah, they're really good. Come to their stand. I think you'll like it.
That's good. Thank you, sir. Everything good?
Sure.
Very healthy. Everything in it's on the corner.
Is
of
it
the
hot?
table.
Is it hot?
Cold and fresh.
Okay. Try
Garlic
this
if you
one.
don't
This
like
is.
spicy.
And that
Okay.
garlic isn't even spicy.
Try to keep
If you find garlic spicy, we need to have a talk.
That's right. That's right. Then you got.
Because that's about as basic as it gets.
This is really good. You know what? You are really good.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't tell me we were doing shots.
Oh, I know. Well,
That's good.
You can put
That
in
is
there
good.
if you like. Yeah, we cook and deliver once a week. Low salt, low sugar meals to Buford, Bluffton, Hilton Head as well. So 14th year, Gourmet on Wheels.
and you are.
Yeah.
Don't leave,
Yep.
please.
Excellent. I mean,
I can't carry
this. Is
this,
delicious.
that's
We'll
the
be
problem.
back.
Yeah, perfect. That's what's in it right there.
Thank you.
Very healthy.
Love that. You see that is I'm not a heat person either. this is savory.
Yeah, lots of fresh parsley and fresh garlic. Everything is just fresh.
This is very good.
Thank you, sir.
Gotta come. This is so much fun. Hey, look, dessert.
Is that for
Jesse?
dogs? No.
No.
Those are dog treats, though.
No, those can't be.
No, those aren't. These are.
Oh, those are, yeah, but these can't be. Look at this. Look at the Lowcountry Bakery. They have the pies
wow.
or the pizzas. And of course, you can never go wrong with chocolate chip cookies. I think that's my downfall.
Diet starts tomorrow.
What's your favorite?
Favorite what?
Dessert.
That's a loaded.
Cookie. You're right. No,
my
cookie.
favorite cookie.
Yeah.
Oh boy, when they're all things being equal, when they're great, chocolate chip.
With nuts for me. Walnuts. Like tons
Yeah,
of
I
them.
could do that. Oatmeal is a close second, but if I had to pick one, chocolate chip. Favorite dessert is probably carrot cake.
I'm surprised. I didn't expect you to say that to me.
Really? Why is that?
Really? I thought you were going to say something like chocolate or
Nah.
some
Carrot cake
kinda-
followed by cheesecake.
No,
Look at that. I keep blowing her mind. Like, for real?
See, this is what we think, or when
And
what
in
is
third
really
place
what we
is
know.
triple raspberry parfait.
Well, take a look here. Hi. I love your chips. I've had your chips. They're delicious.
Would you like to try something on a chippy chip?
Jesse, would
Sure.
you?
Chippy chip.
Stocking, she makes her chippy chips. What do you like, hot or mild, kids?
Mild.
Mild.
You gotta start at the base. Who am I? I'm number 4. Who are you?
No, I recognize you. Don't you have a show?
I do.
Yes.
I'm
this is
Jesse.
Jesse
Of
Blanco.
course.
Very nice to meet you.
Hot or mild, lady?
Mild, please.
She's so pretty.
Isn't she though?
Well, actually, Jesse's being nice. He's on my travel show. I have a travel show, and now you're on my travel show. What is your name?
Kathy.
Kathy. I'm Kathryn.
Nice to meet you, Kathy.
Nice to meet you too. Hi, Fred. Nice to meet you.
You make
get
these
yours?
yourself?
Did you try one?
No, I didn't get one yet.
25
Here.
Company, honey.
Here,
No, you can have that one. I'll
We
get
make
another.
the chippy chips.
I've
You don't
had
make the
these.
salsa
These
though?
are really good.
Mild.
The same family, 25 years, little family business.
These are
First
really good.
incorporation with us. Hot or mild?
Mild.
Well, I'll just give you mango almond.
Okay.
You know what I should give you? I should give you something that used to be hot, now it's not, goes on everything. Our
Why is it
golden-
not?
Well, Daddy had it for 20 years and I made it milder, now I call it golden nuts.
I've heard two things. Even though Georgia says they're the peach capital, but I understand South Carolina is
Yeah,
actually
I've heard that
it's a bigger
too.
crop.
I don't know. I've never verified that. Whatever side of the Savannah River I happen to be on, they claim they're the ones like, okay, hey, good for you. Hey, good for you too.
Yeah.
Peaches for everybody.
Nothing better than a nice peach cobbler.
Yeah, those are huge
You
too.
know. But do you ever cook peaches on the grill?
I've eaten them grilled. I've never grilled them.
They're delicious. That
Yes,
is
they
something
are.
I can do in my own provincial little world here. I can do the grilling of the peaches, and they just taste wonderful. Hi. Hi, how are you? Good. I'm Kathryn, and this is Jesse, and our camera guy brought us in because he says you have the best pops ever.
Well, you have to.
We have to try. I know. So, what are you thinking? Which one would you like to try?
Chunky mango.
Chunky
Yeah,
mango.
do you make them yourself?
We do,
Okay,
You
very
do.
good.
You should take
¿Cómo
a look
estás?
in here.
No, de lo más bien, gracias.
No hablo español.
Sí, yo. That's funny. You funny, yeah.
And
Gracias.
I think I would like to try I don't know, what do you recommend?
Are you leaning towards the fruity, which are more refreshing?
Yes.
My favorite is the raspberry hibiscus.
Not that one. Try another one.
Or, our watermelon lime.
All right.
Take a piece of watermelon.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'll try the watermelon lime.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Está bueno.
Sí. Rico.
Rico. ¿Cómo se dice?
Como dicen los cubanos, riquísimo.
Riquísimo.
Riquísimo. Wow.
Arriba.
I'm a biter.
Yeah?
I'm like going for
Ah,
All right, thank you.
gracias.
De nada.
Hasta luego. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao. So tell me what makes she crab soup so important and special.
Well, the story goes that in 1903, a butler by the name of William Dees created she crab soup for a dinner party they were having for President Taft. And he went crabbing that day, and he used the crab roe to season the she crab soup, and they fell in love with it. And to this day, actually, this recipe was handed to me by his descendants in Charleston, South Carolina. And I've been serving it for about since 1985, actually.
There's lots
And we
of
have our we
What is
also
this?
have our crab cakes.
okay.
These are crab cakes. 100% crab meat. There's no filler, no bread in it.
Wow.
Those things are huge.
That looks like
How
a
many
filet
ounces are
mignon.
8 to 9 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah.
That looks
And of
wonderful.
course, here's our she crab soup. Okay. A little bit of sherry in there, and then we have our crab macaroni and cheese, which is one of our best sellers.
Well, Jesse, wasn't it a great visit here at the Bluffton Market,
Yes.
Farmers Market? So much fun, and I think we ate our way through.
I think so. Yeah, the diet starts on Monday. No worries there.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me, and also, you know, I want to wish you best with your
Thank
show.
you.
Tell me
Thank
a little
you.
bit about what's going on for the next season. It's coming up.
Season 11 has rolled out already. We're having so much fun keeping up with everything that's going on both sides of the Savannah River, downtown Savannah and here in Bluffton and Hilton Head. It keeps us plenty busy. So yeah, 11 seasons, 10 years. We're having a lot of fun, but your thing is rolling out as well, right?
It is. We are 2 months into it. We'd
Good.
like to be 10 years into this project eventually.
Yeah.
But we've been having a blast. You know, one thing I think we have something in common. Number one is we're storytellers.
Right.
And I love that. I mean, that's what we're visiting here. And everybody I'm interviewing, from the music to the artists to history, there's just so many stories to be told.
Yeah. You know, it's great to say this is a beautiful tomato and I'm going to go eat it. But I'm more passionate, and I gather that you are as well, about the guy who's worked so many hours in his week.
That's right.
Ignoring, leisure, and that's his focus, is to produce this produce or to make these dishes. These people are passionate about what they do, and we get to benefit from it. And there are so many stories here. That's the part that fires me up, and it sounds like you as well.
It does. It's a passion of mine, and so I'm enjoying everything I'm doing, and I have enjoyed getting to know the community. And thank you. I've
My
seen
pleasure.
you on your programs,
My
and I
pleasure.
finally get a chance to see you in person. And
Anytime
thank
you want to
for-
hang out and eat, let me know.
I will. We'll have to come up with some more ideas. You know what? I'm going to come to Savannah.
Do that.
We can do a part 2
Do
down
that.
there.
Do that.
Do you love music? I highly recommend that you go to the Roasting Room. It's located in Bluffton too. It's one of the coolest musical venues. Take a look. First, I want to ask you, what was the vision for this? Because this is not easy to do.
No, it's not easy to do. It's definitely a passion project. When we first started the place, we had the idea that we would do maybe a show a month.
Yeah.
We would just bring in locals and say, hey, we have a place to play. It's above a coffee shop. It's a nice, little atmosphere, and had no idea that it would turn into this. And just slowly, step by step, people started to realize that this is a really great sounding room. We tried our best to be professional from the very beginning and build it from there, and figured out how we could sell tickets easily and have people really buy into it, and they trust us, and we have started that, and here we are. It's continuing to grow. It's really amazing. Genres that sell the most are bluegrass, kind of a duo, trio, singer-songwriter. Americana is really hot right now, still hot. It's been hot since we started. We're trying to branch out a little bit. We're doing a fusion band, like a jazz fusion, that's already starting to sell pretty well. Doing that in March. We're bringing in some major international acts as well. We're bringing in some hard rock. We did a 9-piece funk band last year. We're doing soul. We did soul with Gwen Yvette out of Beaufort. So we're trying everything. We're trying to do as much as we can to sell to our demographic, that we're starting to figure out who they are.
I'm dealing with a stranger from Kansas.
I find myself wishing for what I didn't want. I find myself
Staring down that two-lane and thinking of the great unknown. She just looked at me. So where do you think you're going, son?
Well, we started with doing a blanket of all the artists that I thought would be great to play here, and reached out to them and their agencies, and had a lot of, no, we don't know who you are, we don't know what this place is. But over time and over the trust started to build. People started to come in and see what we're doing, see the vision, and share the vision. And now we turn away probably 80 to 85% of folks that reach out.
Really?
We have to say no a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's not enough days in the week. I started when my youngest son was almost to be born. We had this vision. So it's kind of a weird transitional time for me, knowing that I'm a full-time dad, but also a musician. So how do I kind of balance all of those things out while still playing music for tourists and playing cover music and having my own sense of musicianship? How could I bridge that gap? And I think I bridged it by bringing in other artists that are still on the road, still being very artistic and traveling the world, living vicariously through them. I think was my original dream was, boy, I would really love to meet these guys. I just want to meet them. I just want to be in the same room as some of these, because I love their music. I love them as people now. I think it's really just selfishly wanting to hang out with them and be in the same space and be able to present them in a way that they need to be presented. And and show the people of Bluffton that we can do really cool stuff in a really small space.
And you do that. You know what I also like when the performers on stage, like we'll have Levi in a second, he'll come and join us. They talk about how they created the song, and they tell you the story about the song, and then they'll play the song. I mean, that's the groovy part. You know,
Yeah,
they're not
sure.
only playing this great song, but there's a backstory, and there's some reason something happened that spurred that thought.
Right.
And so that's really authentic, and it's very close. And
Yeah.
that's the intimate I like about this.
You're on the same, really about the same distance as you would be front row any major venue. You're less than 25 feet away from the artist at any point.
I think the first time that I came here was with Angie Aparo.
It was.
He introduced me to you guys.
Yeah.
Was talking up the room quite a bit, and you didn't fail to deliver.
That's
for
awesome.
sure. One of the first things that attracted me was the bourbon selection.
That definitely helps.
It was.
I think at the time there was over 200 on the wall.
Was it really?
Now it's 125.
Oh, you
so
had
we
to scale
stripped it
back a
down a
little
bit.
bit?
Yes.
Just the good stuff now.
Yes.
No, the acoustics are incredible. The audience is incredible and respectful. You've really created a good vibe here that songwriters and well, not just songwriters, just artists in general can thrive here and be respected and heard.
Yeah, which is I think what people need.
Right.
Just
Right.
generally to be respected and heard.
No,
What
absolutely.
inspires you as a songwriter?
I write everything from real life experiences. I've never been able to do the Randy Newman thing where you just kind of make up a story and go from there. And he's incredible at that. He's one of my favorite songwriters, but I have to write from true experience.
Sure.
So generally, all the songs are about things that I've gone through or are currently going through, for the most part.
Do you like to collaborate?
Sorry?
Do you like to collaborate?
No, I hate people. Not a big fan of humans. No.
He's an isolationist.
No, I do collaborate quite a bit, and I think it's kind of expected this day and age. It's everything from co-writing to working with people on records, and I'm actually collaborating right now with a guy that I've been friends with for a long time, Wyatt Durrett. We have a duo together called Yesterday's Wine.
Right.
And it's been doing some big things and gaining a lot of traction. So
awesome.
Trying to get him here.
We tried. I think there was a time we did try to.
We're trying. We're still trying.
And well, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen for sure. He'll love this place.
Yeah. And we'll love
He really
him.
will.
Do you believe in mermaids? Well, we found one on Hilton Head Island. We enjoyed meeting Mermaid Nina as she shared her marine life encounters. In the global of your business, number one, you have be a mermaid, right?
Yes.
So that is one thing. Tell us about that.
It's a lot of diving. It's a lot of in the water. It's a lot of fun because you get to see all the wildlife. There are a lot of things that I didn't even know we had here that just kind of pop up, and every time you see something new, you're like, oh, that's a fun surprise, you know.
Such as what?
We have, let me think. We have brittle sea stars here, which I didn't know we had. We have flatworms, which are really cool. They're really pretty. They like glide along the ocean floor. They're really awesome. We have box jellies, which a lot of people don't know. That's kind of a scary surprise, I think. But there are a lot of like little things, like we have salps, which are awesome. We have a lot of little different things that a lot of people don't know about because they're not out here all the time seeing them, and it's just really cool to see them up close.
You're in the water, and your guests come up in a boat, and they have an encounter with you.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so they go out on the boat looking for a mermaid, and they find dolphins along the way, but ultimately, of course, they always find the mermaid. And once I swim up to the boat, and I'll quiz them. It's like a mermaid pop quiz to see how smart they are, and if they can pass the quiz, they become ocean ambassadors, so that's pretty exciting. And then once the quiz is over, then it's their time to ask me questions. And I get a lot of fun questions.
Such as?
Sometimes I get math questions.
Do you really?
On Saturday I got asked if mermaids have a democracy, like by an 8-year-old.
That's a pirate thing. Pirates have democracies. That's funny.
I get a lot of very interesting ones, and it's interesting to see how smart they are and what they know too. But then once the questions are in progress, then the villain will come over, and the villain tries to capture the mermaid, and they have to fight off the villain. And then once the villain leaves, we continue with questions, and then at the end, they all earned their Ocean Ambassador badges, and they are very proud to have their badges.
You're talking about doing better things for our waters. You know, we only have so much, and our coasts are changing. We come across stingrays, dolphins. I mean, do you have anybody bumping into you while you're in the water?
Not really bumping into me. They're pretty aware of what's happening under there. I did have an incident with a manatee a few years ago because I guess they're not quite as aware as everybody else. But as far as bumping into me, we don't have any physical contact. But I do see a lot of really cool things up close. Like I see dolphins all the time. About a month ago, I had an alligator in my cove. And then people ask me all the time if I see sharks. And it is connected to the ocean, and it's saltwater, and they live there. So yes, I see sharks, but I would have to say if I had to pick the friendliest animals I've met out there, it would have to be sharks. They're friendlier than dolphins. Dolphins have a weird reputation for being friendly when they can actually be pretty moody and aggressive. The sharks are always very sweet. So
would they just come up and say hi?
I have one shark. Her name is Ethel, and she's about a 5-foot blacktip shark, and at low tide, she'll come up to me and she'll follow me around. And it's really cool for the guests on the boat because they see, like, there's a shark behind me. So that's a pretty cool, I think that's a cool thing. I'm just sitting here
going, oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, she's very sweet. She's like a puppy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right. And so you get to see each other a couple times a week?
Well, when it's low tide, like every day. I see her like every day. And I'm almost positive, I mean, sharks are difficult to tell who's who. I'm almost positive it's the same one because it's the same size and she's a blacktip shark. So I'm almost positive, but it's difficult with sharks.
Oh, that's adorable. I love your passion. So let's keep walking. We'll talk some more.
Okay.
What's unique that you have found in the last 5 years being here that, I'm surprised?
I think for me, I'm impressed with how much the locals care about the wildlife. When we first moved here, we had a summer here and we saw a lot of tourists who needed the education, but they also, they're on vacation, so they don't care as much. But it's nice when I get locals on the boat, they already know, about sand dollars, they know about sea turtles, and they're excited to learn how to educate other people in a way that's friendly and not so confrontational. And I think that's really refreshing to see that here.
Up next in our shows, we talked a lot about the history of the Geechee Gullah community here in the Lowcountry. We had a chance to sit down with Luana Graves Sellers. She gave us some great insights and shared her personal story.
Yeah, I've always heard of the Gullah Geechee, and I haven't really figured out, they're blended together, but are they separate? Can you tell us the difference, or why they're together and why they are separate?
Well, they're together now because they've become interchangeable. However, there are several different stories behind where the name Gullah and Geechee came from. The Gullah Geechee are descendants of West Africa. And so as descendants, they came from several different countries within Africa, and the culture really became a blending of those different cultures. And so the combination of those cultures essentially was a result of, there were a couple of tribes in Africa, one that was pronounced Gwala, and there's another one called Gola, and there's another one called Akisi. And so, again, there's no specific right answer. However, because of those names and because of the blending of those cultures, that's how the Gullah and the Geechee names kind of came to be. In a technical sense, the Gullah are the slaves that were from South Carolina into North Carolina, and the Geechee are considered the slaves that were from the Ogeechee River in Georgia and south into Florida. So Mitchellville was really a working town.
And there was a community that really supported each other as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's go over to the Praise House, because I think religion was very important to that, to the religion, to the culture, to the day in the life, right?
Yes, because one of the things about the Gullah is that a lot of the African traditions included that village mentality. So if one had, one shared. That was just the way of life.
And we're at the Praise House, and within this culture, religion was very important.
Yes.
So were the religions blended? Was it the African and the Christianity, or did they keep it separate?
Yes, it was a blended religion between Christianity and African traditions that were carried through the generations. And so a lot of the slaves, because they were enslaved by Christians, they knew the Bible. But in addition to those traditions, they brought over certain cultural aspects. For instance, if someone wanted to join the church, they would do something called seeking, which means that they would tie a string around their forehead so people could visually see that they are in a seeking mode or going through seeking. And that person would need to essentially isolate themselves until they had a good idea of and a dream or state of mind that explained to them what their purpose in the religion was. And so they would then take that to an elder and explain, and if the elder accepted that vision that they had, then they were able to come into the church. If the elder felt that they needed to go back and try again, they would have to go back and try again.
Isn't that interesting? They had meditation back then.
Absolutely.
You know, we're all trying to figure out ourselves and where we all believe and all that, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I did not know that story.
Yeah, and they would do it in the woods. They would go off into the woods, you know, to isolate themselves just so that they could have that time to meditate. Because we have Fort Howell down the street and Fort Mitchell, you know, on the island as well, there was a lot of opportunities for the Mitchellville residents to make some money. It was a completely self-serving, self-sufficient town where they had their own style of government and compulsory education and all of the elements that a town included.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it was all right here. It all started here.
Yes.
But along with that, I mean, one thing I'm excited she's going to share with us is that you actually have family that was here during that time.
Yes.
You did a little digging through your genealogy.
Yes.
So tell us, I mean, I'm intrigued by this.
Well, you know, one of the things that makes Mitchellville special to me is that this is the ground that my great-great-great-great-grandfather walked on. He was a soldier in the U.S. Colored Troops when the Union Army was in possession of Hilton Head. And through that research, you know, I was able to find that he escaped from slavery on Johns Island and made his way to Beaufort, and then made his way here and fought under Colonel Montgomery, who was the commander of the Combahee River Raid, which Harriet Tubman was involved in.
Oh, interesting.
As well as the raid on Darien, Georgia, which was depicted in the movie Glory, when they burned down the town, and liberated Jacksonville, you know, during the war.
We also stopped by Mitchellville, which is located on Hilton Head Island, and it's a historic place in American history. We met with Ahmed Ward, who's the executive director, and Kathryn Seaburn, who's the archaeologist on the dig.
Well, we're here on this site. The Praise House was put here because it was a clearing. That's really the main reason. We found a place to put something. We wanted to have the first Juneteenth festival that the organization had put on back in 2014. This was a great place. It had a natural tree canopy, so it just made sense. What we didn't know at the time is that we were placing this structure right on top of one of the historic church sites that would have been in the community back in the 1860s. And so when Mitchellville was established, there were 4 churches in the area. First African Baptist Church was the first church, which was actually established right before the community was. So there were no real praise houses on the site. There might have been some when this was a plantation. but praise houses are prevalent all through South Carolina and Georgia. So this was an opportunity for us to do Juneteenth Festival. This happened before I got here. But they had no idea that they were placing this structure right on top of what we think is one of the churches on site. And so recent archaeology in the area has determined that we're about 85% sure that there was a church here. Enslaved people from all around the region were coming here because they knew they'd be safe here. So then you had this influx of people looking for opportunity, trying to talk to the Union Army about how they can better themselves. They had skills, they wanted to work, they wanted to raise their families. There was no template, there was no like primer that you take how to figure out what to do when you're quote unquote freed.
Right.
And so Ormsby Mitchell, who was a general in the Army, was assigned here in 1862, saw the layout of the land, saw the conditions for the black people that were here, and made a determination that, you know, if we're fighting for this ideal to free these people, let's do this here. Let's give them an opportunity to be citizens here. Let's try it out here, because the Port Royal experiment was something that hadn't necessarily started yet, but it was on its way. And so he gave, you know, a couple hundred acres to this contraband community and said, hey, this is your land. And so this was an opportunity for them to be citizens, to make their own way, to chart their own course, to build their own structure of law. They had a mayor, they had a council, they had a form of government, they had 4 churches, there was like 4 stores, 3 schools. Each family got a quarter acre of a lot to build on, so that was theirs. And so Mitchell had basically set forth this first opportunity for citizenship for Africans in America on this site. And so that's why we call it the first self-governed town of formerly enslaved people in the United States, because self-governing was the most important part of what was happening here at Mitchellville. And from 1862 to about 1868, you had upwards of 3,000 people who lived here. There were about 500 homes. People all over the country, in the eastern port, of course, were talking about this town in South Carolina, but yet we don't know about it for real now. Mitchellville also was the first mandatory school system that was recognized in the state of South Carolina. Potentially the South, but we know specifically the state of South Carolina, because every child who was here between the age of 6 and 15 had to go to school.
Yeah.
And so that was also a very important part of freedom. Like, that was something that was important to them, because you couldn't take education away. Even if somebody could take your freedom away physically,
right,
you couldn't do anything with this.
So I've wanted to be an archaeologist the entire time I was a child. No one knows where it comes from, but as I got older, I sort of dug into what it meant to be an archaeologist, and I got really excited about it as a young teen, and then I went to college for it. And so for the last decade, it's been the thing that I do, and every year I find more things that I love about being an archaeologist. It's kind of a weird job, but...
Such as what? Give us 2 things.
I love the part of my job that has real-world application, and so there's a lot of things every day that we do as humans that leave our imprint literally in the soil. And the best part of my job is going through and finding the remnants that people leave behind that talk about their everyday life. So there's millions of people in history that we don't know their names, we don't know much about them, women, children, folks who didn't write things down. I get to talk to them every day when I look at the objects they leave behind, and that's a pretty incredible job. So that's one of my favorite parts. The other part is I really like the science of it. I love spending each day using science in new ways to find out things that we couldn't imagine that we were missing. And so it's a pretty fun job.
I like that.
The really incredible part of this park is we have a chance to look at what the folks at Mitchellville were living each day like through the archaeology here, but this is all that's left. So the master plan for me is to survey the entire park and see what archaeological resources we have left behind. So that's what I'm doing currently. We go piece by piece and target areas of the park that might be developed or that we need to expand on, and check for archaeology before it gets built on. This place was really a fast sort of blip in the radar of time. So it's only a few years, right?
Right.
So if you were living here for a few years, the things that you leave behind are not going to be as massive as other humans, right? The other thing is that we're living in a place where there's a lot of water and there's a lot of flooding. So every building here was built up on piers. So there's no foundations that were left. So I had to be extremely creative with the archaeology of how to find this building that was up on piers, and when it was it had served its purpose, it was dismantled and used for other things. I am currently doing, like this week and the week before, as right now we have a team out here doing a massive survey with ground penetrating radar, magnetometry, and conductivity. Those are all instruments that look under the ground for remnants of things that humans leave behind. The first time we did excavations, you're always a little bit unsure about what you're going to find. You never know. And within the first few days, as we were excavating right back here, there was a Union Army hat button that popped out, which was that's a good sign. We're right in the right era. And then right underneath that, we found a Springfield repeater rifle cap, which was it was a rifle specifically used by Union cavalry. And then that was right around a small pile of bricks that would have been a pier base. And so in that moment, I remember thinking, oh, we've got the right era. But there's also another artifact that we found a lot of here that is extremely important, and that's a type of pottery that we have found a lot of around this specific area. It's called colonaware, and it's a type of pottery only produced by enslaved African Americans and their descendants in South Carolina, a little bit in Georgia, Virginia, and the Caribbean. And so I was really surprised to find it here because I didn't think there would be a lot around where there was a church. And we're still trying to figure out exactly why we have so much of it, but we have hundreds of pieces of this beautiful pottery that we know is made by enslaved women in the 1800s and the 1700s. And so that's been a really important artifact for us.
We continued our history tour and we went to Beaufort, South Carolina, and we met with Janet Matlock, who is a wonderful lady, and she has this walking tour of the city. We learned so much about Beaufort and how it played in American history.
Let's talk about your history tour. What do you cover on your tour?
I cover Native Americans, Revolutionary War history, Civil War history, and then we talk about the famous people that have been here, and also we describe architecture here in Beaufort. This chart is just amazing. We are the deepest Port Royal Sound. So here's our sweet Beaufort right up here. Up the Beaufort estuary. I know it says it's a river, but it's an estuary. And 70% of sea life gets its start in an estuary. So it's very important for the environment around here. And Port Royal Sound, deepest natural sound south of Manhattan.
Really? I didn't know that.
63 feet deep.
That's why it's a port.
Yeah, there you go.
It's breathtaking.
1842 you're looking at right there, the second church that was put up there. And we're 17 feet above sea level right now. We're the highest point in Beaufort right now.
Oh, interesting. And look we have a graveyard. And we can see there's a lot of history from 1869 to...
I'm going to show you 1724.
1724?
The oldest grave.
Okay.
This is the oldest grave here at St. Helena's graveyard here. It's Colonel John Barnwell. The guy's nickname, Tuscarora Jack.
And what does that mean?
That was one of the Native American tribes that got pushed away from this area. There were 11 Native American tribes in this area in the 16 and 1700s. And this guy, can you see that flag in there? It's kind of old. We need to change it out. It's the Union Jack. This guy was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1671. And guess who ruled Ireland?
I know.
There you go, the British. And he came here in 1701. He was a fighter, so there's that name, Tuscarora Jack.
We've been walking the neighborhoods, and we also came upon this house. This is very special. Tell me about this, Janet.
Secession House. The first ordinance of secession were spoken here.
Okay.
But let's talk about the house first, though. 1810. Beautiful Greek Revival architecture here. Look at the Corinthian pillars at the top there, and the Ionic, the scroll pillars there. And then look at that lovely peachy color. I call that color the Beaufort color. You know, we have a Caribbean influence here. Alexander Hamilton. We all love Alexander. He and his half-brother were raised in the Caribbean. And Alexander Hamilton's half-brother was the warden of the church we just saw.
Oh, isn't that a small world?
Yes. So
but
that's
I also want to point
Caribbean.
out that if you look to the top on the porch, why do they paint their ceilings blue?
Paint blue.
And why do they do that?
They paint blue. It ain't quite green, and it ain't quite blue, how I remember it. And it was a Gullah tradition. It started out as that. The Gullahs believed that if you painted your front door, just a little bit of the front door, because pigment was expensive back then, if you painted it a shade of blue, the haints, or we would call them haunts today, couldn't cross water. So they couldn't cross into your house and haunt your house or haint your house right there.
Right. I mean,
so this is 1810 we're looking at. Pretty nice, huh?
It's beautiful. Well kept. What's this over here? There's another home.
Oh, yes. This house is the Cuthbert house right here. Guess who spent the night in this house? William Tecumseh Sherman.
Oh, really now?
Yes, he was on
General Sherman.
Yes, our General Sherman. He had already done his march to the sea, Atlanta to Savannah, December of 1864. He shows up here in Beaufort, January of 1865. Stays in that house with General Saxton, who's running this, we'll get to that in the tour, hospital town for Beaufort.
Let's talk about that, because one thing Beaufort did become is really a convalescent community. All the Army wounded
came here. 34 buildings, churches, private homes, offices became hospitals.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because there wasn't a lot of battle here per se.
No battle.
No
really.
battle, but it was turned into hospitals.
It's a wrap for Coastal with Kathryn in our first season. We want to thank you so much for taking the journey with us. And I've been asked quite often, why did I launch a travel show? Well, to be truthful, it's really about the storytelling. I enjoy meeting the people, listening to the passions in their life, what brought them to this place along the coastal waters, and I just find it so interesting, and I walk away feeling smarter after every time I get a chance to interview somebody, and I wanted to bring it to you, so that's why I launched the show. And in the meantime, we also have our YouTube community that we're still growing, and we want to thank you for continuing to share with your family and friends, and comment, like, and repeat. That would be very nice. And we are now wrapped up our full season of season 1 with you, and look for season 2, which will start in October. This is Coastal with Kathryn, and thanks again for taking the journey with us.